Never forget. That's the refrain of the day. Every September 11th, we hear it repeated over and over. Never forget. What does that mean? What are you supposed to do about it? Well, I have a suggestion, but I need to provide some context first. Let's imagine that these tokens represent the nearly 3,000 people who died on 9/11. They were victims of a heinous act, and we should remember them. It was a terrible thing. But that doesn't mean that we can forget everybody else that died in the aftermath. In the last 21 years, more than 7,000 U.S. service members died in the War on Terror. Over 8,000 contractors died as well. That's as though 9/11 happened 5 more times. In what world does it make sense to say we lost 3,000 people? Let's do that same thing 5 more times. Would you have signed up for that deal? Would you have signed up for revenge knowing that that's what it was going to cost us? And that's just our price. We haven't talked about the rest of the world yet. An estimated 22,679 civilians have been killed by U.S. strikes. That's as though we inflicted 9/11 on others 7.5 times in the last 21 years. That's the same as a 9/11 every 2.8 years. We're not talking about terrorists. We're not talking about enemy combatants. We're talking about civilians. These civilians span several countries, various conflicts, but they all have a causal link to 9/11. That is when we decided that our government was allowed to dole out fire and fury as it saw fit. That is when we decided that civilian casualties, they're just a means to an end. That's when we decided that punishing anyone was more important than punishing those actually responsible for 9/11. Never forget became, never forget that this tragedy justifies any action, any time, any place. We've done more than 91,000 strikes since then. That's not bombs, that's operational strikes. The number of bombs is about 4 times that many. That's an average of 12 strikes every single day since 9/11. Some of you may be operating under the assumption that these are the sins of the past. Now that we're out of Afghanistan, it's not so bad. No, we are still bombing almost every single day, multiple countries across the Middle East and Africa. The death of one man is a tragedy. The death of millions is a statistic. I don't know if you're up on your history, but Stalin, he was the bad guy. He killed between 6 and 9 million people. We shouldn't be validating his opinion by trivializing all those who've died. Look how much larger these piles of death are than the original tragedy. That isn't a statistic. It's people, tens of thousands of people. Each token on this table represents 1,000 lives that didn't need to be lost. And while it is a tragedy that 3,000 lives were lost on 9/11, it is more of a tragedy that we have done it almost 13 times since then. On this channel, I will not only question authority, but I will call for them to be held accountable. Every living president, current and former, should be tried for war crimes. I call for every single military general to resign for violating their oath to uphold the Constitution. Each had a duty to refuse unlawful orders from the commander-in-chief, and each failed. They executed war actions without a declaration of war. Remember how I had a suggestion for what we can do about it? This is where I need you to do something. I need you to call your senators and representatives and demand an end to the war on terror. Demand that they serve as the check to the executive branch that they were always supposed to be. Either they should demand an end to military action abroad, or they should declare war if they support it. If they won't do either of these actions, then we need them to resign. If they won't resign, then we have to vote them out. I want to end with a small taste of the horror that we inflict by complacently allowing our politicians to run wild. These clips should make you uncomfortable. It should also make you uncomfortable knowing that I cut most of them short for age restriction reasons. These videos barely scratch the surface because we do 12 of these strikes on an average day. Take all the people we lost on 9/11 and multiply it by 13. That's roughly the number of innocents we've lost as a direct result of our response to 9/11. This has to stop. You and I, we have to stop it. Don't just sit idly by. Please contact Congress. Please share this video. Never forget those who died on 9/11. And never forget those who are dying right now. Use that anger and use that sadness and turn it into an action. Thank you.